Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day, and today in this very cold weather we are going to be talking about YA slash fantasy slash dystopian. I'm going to be focusing on one particular genre in YA. I won't be talking about romance or contemporary. I will be mostly talking about my favorite genre in YA, which is a kind of fantasy slash sci-fi slash dystopian. It's not a very cohesive genre. It's not one specific thing, but it's fun. So first of all, reading YA is like getting into pop music. There is so much in it that don't judge like the first YA book you read. If you don't like it, it doesn't represent all YA, and it's not because it was cheesy or the story wasn't interesting or the main character was too childish. It doesn't represent YA. It's not because you don't like one thing that the others won't be good. So if you don't know what YA is, I'm going to name you the most popular YA books slash series, and you will understand like the base of it. So we have like the Harry Potter series, Percy Jackson series, the Twilight Saga, the Hunger Games trilogy, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, any Sarah Dessen book. So YA is very diverse. So you like, let's say, romance books, romance, sorry, that accent there. So let's say that you like a love story, you like contemporary books, but you've never really mixed genres together. Well, it is time to do it. The first series that I would recommend is quite old, but I think it's a classic. I read it like 6 years ago and I loved it. And I think it's a really good introduction to YA dystopian books with a strong love trope. I recommend to you The Selection by Kiera Cass. This book is on Goodreads. YA slash dystopian. I would add romance because the romance is like the main element in the story, so it's very strong even if it's a dystopian. So I'm gonna have to read this because it's been way too long since I've read this series, but I do plan on rereading it before the Netflix adaptation comes out, which I don't know when it is going to. They just announced that there would be a selection series, so I think I have like at least 2 years before it ever comes out, but I'm planning on rereading this series. So we live in the world where there are 8 castes, and these castes represent the wealth of the families, and it also represents what their job is going to be. Each caste has a skill that the members must choose for their careers, and it's obviously 1 being the best and the richest, and 8 being the lowest and the poorest, almost homeless. So in this world we have this selection, which is basically The Bachelor but inverted because it's 1 guy and a lot of girls. The Bachelor is... I don't have any knowledge of The Bachelor. I'm really sorry, but I don't know if it's a lot of guys and 1 girl, or if it's 1 guy and many girls. I don't know, but it's 1 guy, the prince of the country, called Maxon, and 35 girls. Our main character is called America Singer. She is in cast 5, and I don't remember what career she's supposed to have, but she is like fine with it. She has a secret boyfriend, but she gets chosen, well, not chosen, but she is able to go be a part of this election, but she doesn't want to because of her secret boyfriend. But if you go to this election and you like can stay there for like at least a few months, your family gets money because you're there and you're not giving them money by doing whatever career you're supposed to do. So America begins a unlikely friendship with Prince Maxon because he learns that she doesn't want to be a part of this, but she can be a good ally to help him find a real girlfriend that he will actually love, while she still gets the money for her family, because her family is not the richest because they're cast 5. They're not the worst family, but they don't have a lot of money. I really love this series, honestly, I think I gave it an overall of 4.5 out of 5 stars. I do plan on rereading it because there are a lot of things that I don't remember of this book, but mainly I really loved it. There is a lot of romance, so if you're like really into dystopian, it doesn't go that deep into the dystopian aspect of the book, of the series, but the whole romance aspect is very, very present and is the main plotline, so obviously it's going to be there. Second series recommendation, and now if you are into some magic stuff. So you saw the Harry Potter movies, you really like them, you want to maybe read some books about magic but don't know where to start. Well, I don't know if it's a series that you should start with, but I do recommend it because I really loved it. I recommend to you the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. So the first book being Shadow and Bone, we have Siege and Storm and Rune and Rising at the end. The whole territory and the whole world building is based off Russian territory, so it's very, very cold, you have a lot of snow, and the buildings are really resemble Russian buildings. Just with this one, it's pretty obvious that it is Russian, I believe. I don't know if I'm stereotyping there, I'm really sorry if I am, but it feels really Russian, so it's the same castle. Okay, so on Goodreads it says YA, fantasy and magic. I do believe it is a little bit dystopian, because dystopian just means that it is in an like kind of post-apocalyptic world where there are leaders that people don't like. Oh, so we live in a dystopian world? Maybe, I don't know. Because basically we have this king that lives in a palace and everybody else is poor. So to me, it's dystopian. So first of all, let me just explain the world building just really quickly. We have the main region called Aravka, and inside it you have the Shadowfold, which is I always have trouble explaining this thing, but I'm just going to show you because we have a map, so I don't know why I'm wasting my time trying to explain while I can just give you a picture. Okay, so we have Aravka here, we have Ferda, I'm sorry, and other territories there. Our main story is in Aravka. This is the Unsea, which is also called the Shadowfold, and it is basically like darkness.
One eternity later.
It is basically just like clouds stuck together, but really like across the territory, and inside there are monsters that will kill you and you can't see anything inside, and if you bring a light it doesn't work. So yeah, and so there has been a war raging between Ravka and the other territories, but to actually win the war, the Ravka people have to go across the Unsea to defeat the other people, which I don't remember their names. In this story, we have the main character called Alina Starkov and her best friend Mal, who are both orphans, sorry, and they decide to participate in the war. I don't think they have a choice though, but like they're in the war at the beginning of the story. And they get into the Shadowfold because they have to go inside to go to the other side to defeat the rebels. While they are being attacked inside the Shadowfold, Mal is deeply injured and Alina strikes powers out of herself. She doesn't know she has power, so it's really a big surprise for everybody. So Alina is taken away from Ravka to go trained as a summoner. Summoners are witches / sorcerers with magic. So she's going to be trained as a Grisha for the Darkling. The Darkling is the son of the king and queen, and he is our main evil protagonist. His intentions are really unclear about what he wants to do with Alina because she's the first summoner that they've had in a very long time. That is mainly what the story is about. You don't know the Darkling's intentions with Alina's powers. Alina has to work very, very hard to understand her powers and to not fear them and be able to control them. So that's really, really interesting. And yeah, So let's say that the Ghost trilogy doesn't interest you because it is way too magical or way too weird, because it sounds weird. I know it's special. I really liked it though, but let's go back to a little bit more romancy and something a little bit more familiar if you're not really aware of what YA is, and if you're just trying to get into it, not with too much intensity of the YA genre. So we have a fairy tale retelling, and those have been very, very, very popular in the last few months, years. I don't even know what time. Time is not something I rely on anymore, so I don't know how long it's been since people have been making retellings. I don't know. So I am recommending the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and I will put that down because I'm dropping them so fast. So all of these books are retellings of basic Disney stories, which are actually grim stories, fairy tales, but it doesn't matter. First of all, we have Cinder, which is the first book. We have the second book, Scarlet, which is about the Little Red Riding Hood. We have the third one called Crest, which is about Rapunzel and her long flowy hair. And the last one, Winter, which is about Snow White, which is obvious with the apple here. If you want to know my thoughts about this series, I actually made a whole series review if you want to go and check it out, because I'm not going to talk about what I liked about the series, I'm going to be talking more about what it is. But just FYI, I really loved it. So first of all, Goodreads said that this series was YA, fairy tale, dystopian, and sci-fi. So we get away a little bit from the fantasy version of my books, but we do get into a bit of sci-fi. So if that is not your thing, I don't think it's going to be such an issue, because I don't believe there is too much of it. I feel like it's just enough, and it's mainly in the first book, so the rest of the series is just fine. So it is in the future, in New Beijing. We don't actually know what year, but we know that there has been 4 world wars in total, and now they're after the war, and it's chaos everywhere because everybody's poor, everybody lost everything after the war, and they're actually at war with the lunar people who live on Mars, on the moon. And one of the main things that is different in this world is that there are androids, but like human androids. Like we do have some of them here, because androids are like mainly a human with a part robot, so we have a lot of them with people who have robot arm, robot legs, but it is just really more common, and some people will choose to take away a part of themselves to put it in a robot form because it's more convenient for them. We follow Cinder, who is a mechanic, and she has a little shop down the street to help people with basically anything that revolves around mechanic. But people don't know that she is actually a cyborg. She lives with her stepmother and her 2 main stepsisters, obviously, after her father died, because that's the main story. And since she's a cyborg, she's treated as like less of nothing. I don't even know how to say that, but she's treated as a servant, as somebody who has no rights, basically. And yeah, I won't say too much about how they come to meet, but the Prince of New Beijing, Prince Kai, and Cinder their lives will intertwine at some point, and from that, a whole thing is going to go down because of their encounter. And yeah, I don't want to say too much, and I don't want to say not enough at the same time, but this series is just so good. I love it so much. And I don't know, it took me too long to read it because it came out in like 2014, I think, or 16, and I really like last year, so I took my time. But good thing about it was that I could binge read the whole series, while other people had to wait 4 years to get to the end. So am I stupid or am I genius? I don't know. We are arriving at my last suggestion, and thank God, because I think it's been like 15 minutes since I've been rambling about books. So this will be the last. If you like magic, but like not too unrealistic magic where you don't know where the powers come from and everything just happens and you don't know why, well, I have the perfect series for you because it is dystopian meets X-Men. So the powers are actually not that they're not real, but the powers are actually coming from somewhere. The people have them inside them, and it's not too unspecific. I give you the Shadow Me series, and I'm not going to show you all the books because there are 6 of them, and it's too heavy, and I will drop them, and I won't do that because this is my favorite series of all time. And if you're new to my channel, this is my favorite series of all time. And if you are a old subscriber who's been watching me talk about this series for like forever, I'm really sorry. First of all, this is in a post-apocalyptic world. Like a war happened or something and everything collapsed and the world became the establishment, which means that there's like only one government that controls everybody and there are like sub leaders in every continent. The goal of the establishment is basically what the Nazis wanted. They want to eliminate any form of art, of literature. They want to have one language only in the entire world, which I think is English. And yeah, they want to like kill the culture, but like rebuild it in a better way. Like that's how they sell it. But nobody believes it actually because everybody's poor and everybody's dying. So nobody believes that the establishment is actually a good thing. Yeah. So we follow our main character called Juliet. She is a 17-year-old girl whose powers are very confusing for her and for anybody reading the book. But as the series continues, you get to understand more her powers. Basically, when she touches people, they die. You don't really know why, but it's kind of like Rogue from X-Men, so I wouldn't say that it's copied because throughout the series you actually learn what her powers actually are and it's not the same thing. But it looks the same. When she was young, Juliet killed a boy because she tried to help him because he fell. And she killed him. So her parents, well, they freaked out a little bit and they sent her to juvenile places. Like she went to place and ended up in prison at some point. We don't know why, but she's been in prison for almost a year now. And in the beginning of the story, she's released by the son of the Supreme Commander of North America, which is Warner. He wants to use her as a weapon to torture people if they don't comply, basically. His main goal is basically to put her, Juliet, into interrogation rooms, and if the people don't comply or answer the questions, she can just like taunt them with her touch. Because if she actually touches them, they die. So I don't know how the torture will go, but it's his main goal. So Juliet has 2 options. Well, not really 2 options. She has 1 option to follow and comply because or else she will be killed. But she has to get stronger and learn to actually defend herself when there are actual dangers around. I absolutely loved this series to death. So basically, we only have Juliet who has powers at the beginning of the series. Throughout the series, we learned that other people have powers too, so that's why I said that it was a little bit like X-Men, because at the beginning you think that she's the only one who has powers, which is not really a power if you think about it, but at some point it will become a power, but that's another story for another time. But other people will come forward and you will realize that there are way more people with powers than you actually thought. So it's actually like X-Men, but way cooler because the characters are like so much funnier, so much cooler, their chemistry is incredible.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular.
The whole series is out. All of the series that I talked about are currently all out. So you can actually go buy all the books and binge read them because it's the best thing to do while you don't have anything else to do. You just binge read and binge read and binge read and binge watch sometimes because you have to do something else of your life. So that was it for my video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Tell me down below if there are any other series that you would recommend for someone who's starting into YA. I would really like to know because I always am looking for recommendations, as you all know. And yeah, I will see you guys next time with a new video. Goodbye.